The richest man in New York just watched his 47th maid run out the door screaming. His twin boys stood at the top of the stairs covered in paint and feathers. They were only 8 years old, but they had already broken more hearts than a teenage player. Every maid quit within hours. Some didn't even last 30 minutes. But wait until you see what happens when a woman from Mississippi shows up at their door with nothing but a worn suitcase and a secret that would change everything. James Chen stood in his marble foyer watching the latest maid sprint to her car. Paint dripped from the chandelier above. Feathers floated down like snow. And somewhere upstairs, his twin boys were probably already planning their next attack. "This is impossible," James muttered to his assistant on the phone. "That's the third one this week, Rachel. At this rate, we'll run out of maids in the entire state." The twins appeared at the top of the grand staircase. 8-year-old identical boys with their mother's dark eyes and their father's stubborn chin. Ethan and Noah Chen, the terror twins of Manhattan. "She lasted 2 hours," Noah announced proudly. "That's a new record." "We told you, Daddy," Ethan added. "We don't want another maid. We can take care of ourselves."
James looked at his sons. "Really? Is that why the kitchen caught fire last week when you tried to make toast? Or why the bathroom flooded when you decided to give the dog a bath in the sink?" The boys shrugged in perfect unison. They had been doing this for 3 months now, ever since their mother died in that plane crash, ever since their perfect world shattered into a million pieces. James was worth $8 billion. He owned tech companies in 12 countries. He had dinner with presidents and celebrities, but he couldn't figure out how to help his own children. They were drowning in grief and taking everyone down with them. The boys weren't always like this. Before the accident, they were sweet kids. They played violin and spoke 3 languages. They had perfect manners and bright smiles. But grief had turned them into something else, something wild and angry and unreachable. James had tried everything: the best therapists in the world, expensive boarding schools, meditation coaches, art therapy, horse therapy, even a professional nanny from England who claimed she had trained the royal children. She lasted 45 minutes before Noah put a frog in her tea. "Mr. Chen," Rachel's voice came through the phone, "there's someone here to see you about the maid position." James sighed. "Send them away. I'm done for today." "Sir, she's been waiting for 3 hours. She says she won't leave until you interview her."
James was about to argue when he heard something unusual. Singing. Someone was singing in his foyer. A deep, rich voice that seemed to fill the entire space. He walked to the top of the stairs and looked down. A black woman sat on his expensive Italian leather bench. She wore a simple blue dress and worn shoes. Her hair was pulled back in a neat bun, and she was singing an old gospel song like she was in church instead of a billionaire's mansion. The boys crept up beside their father. They had never heard singing like this before. It wasn't the polished, perfect sound of their mother's opera records. It was something raw and real and full of pain that had been transformed into beauty. "Who is she, Daddy?" Noah whispered. "I don't know," James admitted. The woman looked up and saw them watching. She didn't stop singing. Instead, she smiled and waved them down, like she was inviting them into her living room instead of sitting in theirs. James found himself walking down the stairs. The boys followed. They couldn't help it. Something about her voice pulled them forward. When they reached the bottom, she finished her song and stood up. She was shorter than James expected. Her face was lined with years of hard living, but her eyes were bright and kind. "Mr. Chen," she said, extending her hand. "I'm Josephine Washington, but everyone calls me Joe. I'm here about the maid position." James shook her hand automatically. "Miss Washington, I appreciate you coming, but I don't think...
I know what you think, Joe interrupted gently. You think your boys are impossible. You think they're too broken to fix. You think no one can handle them. The twins bristled at her words, but Joe turned to them with that same warm smile. And you two think if you're mean enough, everyone'll leave you alone. You think if you push people away, it won't hurt as much when they go. Because everyone goes eventually, right? Ethan and Noah exchanged shocked looks. No adult had ever talked to them like this. Most people either yelled at them or tried to bribe them with toys and candy. "How did you know that?" Ethan asked suspiciously. "Because, baby, I've been where you are. Lost my mama when I was 6, lost my daddy when I was 10, spent years being angry at the whole world." "We're not babies." Noah crossed his arms. "You were right. You're not babies. You're warriors, fighting a war against pain. Problem is, you're fighting the wrong enemy." "What do you mean?" Noah asked, despite himself. "You're fighting everyone who tries to help you instead of fighting through the grief. That's like punching the doctor who's trying to fix your broken arm." "We don't need to be fixed," Ethan said defiantly. "We're not broken." "You're absolutely right. You're not broken. You're hurting. Big difference. Broken things need to be thrown away. Hurting things need to be healed." James watched this interaction with growing amazement. His sons hadn't had a real conversation with any of the previous maids. They usually just started their pranks immediately. "Miss Washington," James began. "Call me Joe. Joe, I should warn you, my sons have driven away 47 maids in 3 months. They've caused property damage. They've been physically aggressive. They've been grieving," Joe finished for him. "And nobody's been speaking their language."
"What language is that?" James asked. "Pain," Joe said simply. "I speak fluent pain." The boys were studying Joe with the intensity of scientists examining a new species. She didn't look like the other maids. She didn't have the starched uniforms or perfect hair or nervous smiles. She looked like someone's grandmother, comfortable and worn and real. "You can't handle us," Noah declared. "Nobody can." Joe raised an eyebrow. "Is that a challenge?" "Yeah," Ethan said, stepping forward. "It is." Joe grinned. "Good. I like challenges. But let me tell you something. I raised 6 kids, 3 of my own and 3 of my sister's after she passed. I've been peed on, thrown up on, had my hair set on fire twice, been locked in a closet, had a snake put in my bed, and once a kid tried to sell my car while I was sleeping." The twins looked impressed despite themselves. "And you know what?" Joe continued. "Every single one of those kids is grown now. Good jobs, good families, good hearts. Because I didn't give up on them when they were acting out their pain." James felt something he hadn't felt in months. Hope. "When can you start?" he asked. "Right now, if you'll have me." The boys immediately went into defense mode. "We don't want her, Daddy," Noah said. "She's just going to leave like all the others," Ethan added. Joe pulled a worn photo from her purse. She showed it to the boys. "This is my grandson, Timothy. He's about your age. Lives with his mama in Mississippi. I haven't seen him in 2 years because I've been working up north trying to save money." "Why are you showing us this?" Noah asked. "Because I want you to understand something. I didn't leave my own grandbaby to come here and give up on you two. I'm here because I believe every child deserves someone who won't quit on them. And I don't quit." James made a decision. "Boys, go to your room. I need to talk to Miss Washington." "Joe," he corrected with a smile. The twins trudged upstairs, but they kept looking back at Joe. She waved at them like they were old friends.
Once they were alone, James got serious. "Joe, I need to be honest with you. My sons aren't just difficult. They're in real pain. Their mother was everything to them. When she died, they lost their anchor." Joe nodded. "And you lost yours, too." James was startled by her directness. Yes, I did. Here's what I know, Mr. Chen. You can't help your boys heal until you start healing too. Pain in a house is like smoke. It fills every room. Everyone breathes it. "I'm fine," James said automatically. Joe gave him a look that said she wasn't buying it. "When's the last time you ate dinner with your boys?" James tried to remember. "I've been working a lot, the Singapore merger and the Tokyo expansion." "So you've been hiding in your office while your boys destroy the house, trying to get your attention. That's not—" James stopped. She was right. He had been hiding, working 20-hour days so he didn't have to come home to the memories. "I'll make you a deal," Joe said simply. "You give me 1 month. 1 month to try my way. If the boys aren't better, I'll leave. No arguments, no drama." "And what's your way?" "Love," Joe said simply. "Consistent, stubborn, unbreakable love." James thought about the 47 maids who had run from his home, the thousands of dollars in damage, the school complaints, the therapy bills. 1 month, he agreed.
Joe smiled. "Now let me go meet my boys properly." She headed up the stairs like she owned the place. James followed, curious to see what would happen. The twins' room looked like a war zone. Toys everywhere, clothes thrown around, writing on the walls. The boys sat on their beds, trying to look tough. Joe surveyed the damage and whistled. "You two did all this? That's impressive. Must have taken a lot of energy." The boys weren't expecting that reaction. The other maids had always yelled or looked disgusted. "We can make it worse," Noah warned. "I bet you can," Joe agreed. "But here's the thing. This mess isn't hurting me. It's not hurting your daddy. It's hurting you." "No, it's not," Ethan argued. "Really? Where do you sleep when your bed is covered in toys? Where do you play when your floor is covered in clothes? You're so busy making a mess to push people away that you've pushed away your own comfort." Joe picked up a broken picture frame. It was a photo of the boys with their mother. The glass was cracked, but the image was still visible. "She was beautiful," Joe said softly. The boys' tough facades cracked a little. "Yeah," Noah whispered. "She was."
"Tell me about her," Joe said, sitting on the floor. The boys looked at each other. No one had asked them to talk about their mother. Everyone always tried to distract them or change the subject. "She smelled like vanilla," Ethan said quietly. "She read to us every night," Noah added, "even when she was tired from her concerts." "Concerts?" Joe asked. "She was an opera singer," James said from the doorway. "The best in the world." "She taught us to sing," Ethan said, "but we don't anymore." "Why not?" Joe asked. "Because it makes us sad," Noah admitted. Joe nodded. "I understand. After my mama died, I didn't sing for 5 years. It felt like betraying her memory to be joyful. But you know what I learned?" The boys shook their heads. "Our voices carry the people we love. When I sing, I'm not betraying my mama. I'm carrying her with me. Her love lives in my voice." The room was quiet for a moment. Then Joe started humming. It was a simple melody, something between a lullaby and a hymn. After a few bars, she looked at the boys. "Your turn." "We can't," Ethan said. Not can't, Joe corrected. Won't. There's a difference.
She kept humming. The melody was infectious. James found himself swaying slightly. Then something amazing happened. Noah started humming along. Just a few notes at first, barely audible, but it was there. Ethan looked at his brother in shock. Then he joined in too. Their voices were rusty from months of silence, but they were singing. James felt tears on his face. He hadn't heard his boys sing since the funeral. Joe smiled and kept the melody going. She didn't make a big deal about it. She just let them sing. When the song ended, the boys looked surprised at themselves. "That wasn't so bad," Noah admitted. "No," Joe agreed. "It wasn't bad at all. Now, how about we clean up this room? I'll help, but you two have to do most of the work." "Why should we?" Ethan challenged. "Because tonight I'm making my famous fried chicken and mac and cheese, but I only cook in a clean house." The boys perked up. They had been living on takeout and microwave meals for months. "You can cook?" Noah asked. "Baby, I can cook so good you'll think you've died and gone to heaven. But like I said, clean house first." The twins looked at each other. Some silent communication passed between them. Then they started picking up toys.
James watched in amazement as his impossible boys began cleaning their room without threats or bribes. Joe worked alongside them, making it feel like a game instead of a chore. Within an hour, the room was spotless. The boys were sweating, but smiling. Actually smiling. "Now," Joe announced, "let's go make some magic in the kitchen." The kitchen was a disaster from the boys' previous attempts at cooking. Joe surveyed the damage and rolled up her sleeves. "First rule of cooking," she announced, "clean as you go. Ethan, you're on dish duty. Noah, you're my sous chef. Mr. Chen, you're on vegetable chopping." James started to protest that he had work to do, but the look Joe gave him stopped him cold. For the next 2 hours, the kitchen was filled with laughter and music. Joe taught the boys old spirituals while they cooked. She showed them how to bread chicken properly, how to season with love, not just salt, how to make mac and cheese from scratch. The boys were fascinated. They had never seen anyone cook like this. Their mother had been too busy with her career. The maids had always just reheated pre-made meals. "Why does it smell so good?" Noah asked as the chicken sizzled in the pan. "Because we're not just cooking food," Joe explained. "We're cooking memories. Every time you smell fried chicken after this, you'll remember tonight. You'll remember being together, being happy." Ethan was stirring the cheese sauce with intense concentration. "I didn't know cooking could be fun." "Everything can be fun with the right attitude," Joe said. "Even cleaning, even homework, even grief." "Grief can't be fun," Noah protested. "No, but it can be meaningful. It can teach us things. It can make us stronger. It can connect us to others who understand." James watched his boys bloom under Joe's attention. They were asking questions, laughing at her stories, acting like children instead of angry soldiers. When dinner was ready, they sat at the dining table together. It was the first family meal they'd had since the funeral. "Before we eat," Joe said, "I want everyone to share one memory of Mrs. Chen, something that makes you smile." The boys tensed. James started to intervene, but Joe held up a hand.
"I'll go first," Joe said. "I never met your mama, but from what I've seen today, she raised two amazing boys. So my memory is imagining her teaching you two to be so smart and creative, even if you do use those skills for chaos sometimes." Noah giggled. It was the first time James had heard that sound in months. "She used to dance while she cooked," Noah offered, "even when she burned everything. Remember when she tried to make spaghetti and set off the fire alarm?" Ethan added. "She made us have a picnic on the floor instead." She couldn't cook at all, James said, smiling at the memory. But she tried so hard. She'd watch cooking shows and take notes like she was studying for an exam. They spent the meal sharing stories, some funny, some sad, some both. Joe listened to each one like it was precious gold. After dinner, the boys helped clear the table without being asked. They were still processing this new experience, an adult who didn't run from their pain, who didn't try to fix them or control them, who just accepted them. "Bath time," Joe announced, "and I want to see clean boys, not just wet ones." The twins started to protest, but Joe raised an eyebrow. "Unless you want to explain to your classmates tomorrow why you smell like fried chicken." The boys laughed and raced upstairs. James started to follow, but Joe stopped him. "Let them do it themselves. They need to feel capable." "They'll flood the bathroom," James warned. "Then they'll learn to clean up floods. Natural consequences teach better than lectures." James sat back down. In one evening, Joe had accomplished more than months of expensive professionals. "How do you do it?" he asked. "Do what?" "Connect with them. Make them listen. Make them want to be better." Joe poured herself a glass of sweet tea she'd made. "Mr. Chen, your boys don't need someone to make them do anything. They need someone to see them, really see them. Not as problems to solve, but as humans in pain." "I see them," James protested. "Do you? When's the last time you looked at them without seeing your wife's death, without seeing your own failure, without seeing all the ways they're not healing fast enough?" James was quiet. She was right again.
Joe stood up and patted James on the shoulder. "Those boys are mirrors, Mr. Chen. They're reflecting all the pain in this house. You want them to heal? Start with yourself." From upstairs came the sound of splashing and laughter, not the destructive kind, but actual joy. "Sounds like they're doing just fine," Joe said with a smile. That night, Joe tucked the boys into bed. They had fought it at first, saying they were too old for tucking in, but Joe ignored their protests and pulled up a chair between their beds. "My grandmother used to tell me stories every night," she said, "even when I was a teenager and thought I was too cool. Want to hear one?" The boys nodded despite themselves. Joe told them about a little girl who lost everything in a fire, how she was angry at God and the world, how she pushed everyone away. But then she met an old woman who taught her that love was stronger than loss. "Is that story about you?" Ethan asked when she finished. "Maybe," Joe said with a wink, "or maybe it's about someone you know." She kissed each boy on the forehead before they could protest and left the room. James was waiting in the hallway. "They let you kiss them goodnight?" he said in amazement. "They haven't let anyone do that since their mama died," Joe finished. "I know, but sometimes you gotta take love instead of waiting for permission." Oh my goodness, can you believe what just happened? Joe got those impossible twins to let her kiss them goodnight. After months of pushing everyone away, they finally let someone in. But wait, this is just the beginning of their incredible journey. You have to see what happens next. Part 2 is even more powerful. You'll see the boys face their biggest fear, Joe's shocking past that almost destroys everything, and a moment at the talent show that will have you crying happy tears. Right now, I need you to do 3 things. First, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss part 2. It's dropping tomorrow at the same time, and trust me, you need to see how this story ends. Second, smash that like button. It helps more people find this beautiful story. Your click literally helps spread hope. Third, Tell us, where are you watching from? I love seeing our family around the world. If this first part touched you, please share it right now. Someone in your life needs to see this today. Someone who's struggling with loss or difficult children or just needs hope. The notification bell is right there. Hit it so you know the second part 2 goes live. You do not want to miss what happens at that talent show. I'm still crying. Remember what Joe said. Sometimes you gotta take love instead of waiting for permission. Maybe that message is for you today. Part 2 tomorrow. Same time, same channel. The ending will blow your mind. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being part of our family. See you tomorrow for the conclusion you won't forget. Don't forget, Part 2 drops tomorrow. Set your reminder now. Peace and love, family. See ya in Part 2.